1,095 days. That's it. That's the entire Clone Wars, start to finish. The Battle of Geonosis in 22 BBY to Order 66 in 19 BBY. A galactic conflict spanning 100,000 light years, fought across hundreds of contested worlds, involving millions of clone troopers and thousands of Jedi against a Separatist Confederacy fielding functionally unlimited droid armies. 3 years. For context, the American Civil War, fought across a single continent, lasted 4. World War I ground on for 4 years and 3 months. World War II consumed 6. The Clone Wars, a conflict of genuinely incomprehensible scale, gets 3. So this isn't a recap, it's a prosecution. The Jedi Council is the defendant, the calendar is the evidence, and you're the jury. And honestly, you already suspect the verdict. The prosecution's first exhibit isn't a war crime, it's arithmetic. Mace Windu led 212 Jedi into the Petranaki arena on Geonosis to rescue Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme from execution. Roughly 30 walked out. Master Yoda arrived with the Grand Army of the Republic, clone soldiers genetically engineered from bounty hunter Jango Fett, commissioned in secret a decade earlier, deployed for the first time that afternoon. Lat gunships screaming across red dust, white armor pouring into the kill zone, lightsabers igniting at the head of infantry formations. The Republic won the field, the Separatists ran. And then the Jedi Council made the decision that killed them. They accepted battlefield commissions as generals and commanders in a conventional military hierarchy. Obi-Wan took the 212th Attack Battalion and the 7th Sky Corps. Anakin got the 501st Legion. Aayla Secura, the 327th Star Corps. Ki-Adi-Mundi, the 21st Nova Corps. Jedi with 0 military training, 0 logistical education, and 0 command experience were handed formations of thousands of men and told to go win a galactic war. A Jedi Temple education covers lightsaber forms, force meditation, diplomacy, and the philosophical tenets of the Code. Nothing in that curriculum addresses combined arms doctrine, casualty evacuation protocols, or how to read a topographic map. Here's what kills me about this. Think about what the Jedi actually are. They possess force precognition, the ability to sense danger before it arrives and read enemy intentions in real time. Superhuman agility, speed, reflexes. They deflect blaster bolts, move objects with their minds, influence the weak-willed through suggestion, survive impacts that would kill anyone else, and carry lightsabers that cut through blast doors. Several demonstrated the ability to infiltrate enemy installations undetected and maintain combat effectiveness while vastly outnumbered. That is not the profile of a battalion commander standing behind a holotable. That is the profile of the most lethal special operations asset in galactic history. In real-world military doctrine, forces like U.S. Army Green Berets, British SAS, and Navy SEALs operate as force multipliers. Small teams of 12 executing surgical strikes, high-value target elimination, deep reconnaissance, and unconventional warfare behind enemy lines. Their defining trait is disproportionate impact, a single team achieving strategic objectives that would otherwise require a battalion. Conventional generals, by contrast, manage large formations over sustained campaigns. Logistics, supply chains, force disposition, fundamentally different skill sets, fundamentally different roles. And the Jedi, beings literally built for the special operations model, chose generalship. Every time Anakin and Obi-Wan were at their most effective in this war, they weren't commanding fleets. They were operating as a 2-person strike team, sabotaging the malevolence from within, infiltrating behind separatist lines, running surgical missions that played to every strength the Force gave them. The war accidentally let them do what they were built for, and it worked beautifully. Then the Council pulled them back to the holotable, and the body count resumed. The clones, bred and trained from birth for war, knew more about soldiering on day 1 than the Jedi would learn in all 1,095. But clones couldn't outrank a Force user. The hierarchy was set. The clock started. Weeks after Geonosis, weeks, Anakin and Obi-Wan deploy to Christophsis, a crystalline outer rim world under Separatist blockade. The operation demands Anakin break a naval blockade using an experimental stealth ship, Obi-Wan fight a ground campaign through a besieged city, and both deal with a clone traitor named Slick, feeding intel to Asajj Ventress. Already a multi-day combined arms operation, requiring naval strategy, ground tactics, and counterintelligence. And it's the preamble, because during Christophsis, a transport arrives carrying Anakin's new Padawan. Her name is Ahsoka Tano. She's 14 years old. Exhibit A, the deployment of a child soldier as a battlefield commander. Under the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the direct participation of any person under 15 in hostilities constitutes a war crime. Ahsoka wasn't sent as an observer. She was assigned command authority. Within hours of landing on an active battlefield, she's making tactical decisions, engaging enemy combatants, and leading clone troopers conditioned from birth to obey Force users regardless of age or experience. And the Council didn't treat her as an exception. Barriss Offee served as a Padawan combat commander under Luminara Unduli. Caleb Dume was a child Padawan deployed to the front when Order 66 came. The Jedi Order institutionalized the use of children in combat. Month 2 of the war. Exhibit A doesn't close. It runs for the duration. Christophsis bleeds into the Battle of Teth. Anakin and Ahsoka scaling a vertical cliff under fire to rescue Jabba the Hutt's kidnapped son. Teth leads to a desperate crossing of Tatooine to return the Huttlet. Transit alone. Coruscant to Christophsis, Christophsis to Teth, Teth to Tatooine, Tatooine back, devours days even at the most generous hyperspace estimates. Core to outer rim travel along major hyperspace lanes like the Corellian Run takes anywhere from hours to several days, depending on route and ship class. Every deployment carries embedded cost. Multiply that across dozens of major engagements and hundreds of implied minor ones, and transit alone cannibalizes weeks from a calendar with no weeks to spare. By roughly month 4, the Rishi Moon listening post gets overrun by commando droids. The station is staffed with shinies, rookies who've never seen combat. Among them, Domino Squad, Heavy, Echo, Fives, Cut Up, Droid Bait. These 5 nearly failed certification on Camino. When the squad fractured under pressure, the one who held them together was a maintenance clone named 99. Malformed, hunched, physically incapable of meeting deployment standards. Assigned to janitorial work in the facility that manufactured his brothers. He befriended Heavy, the squad's most aggressive member, and through quiet encouragement helped Domino find its cohesion. Before they shipped out, Heavy gave 99 his graduation medal. Remember that name. We're coming back to it. At Rishi, Cut Up dies to a native eel. Droid Bait goes down in the initial assault. Heavy stays behind to manually detonate the station when the remote trigger fails, because the all-clear signal has to be destroyed or Camino is exposed. He dies in the blast. Month 4. Domino Squad cut in half. Somewhere on Camino, 99 learns the young man who gave him a medal is gone, and he keeps that medal closer than anything he owns. Around month 5, the Malevolence, a separatist warship armed with a massive ion cannon, destroys Jedi Master Plo Koon's task force and leaves his surviving Wolfpack pilots drifting in escape pods. Plo Koon searches for them against orders. The clones are shocked anyone came looking. A Jedi's basic decency registers as extraordinary because the institution has conditioned them to expect expendability. And when Anakin and Obi-Wan finally bring the Malevolence down at the dead moon of Antar, they do it as a 2-person strike team, sabotaging the ship from within. Not commanding a fleet, doing the thing they were actually designed to do. Months 8 through 10 bring the liberation of Ryloth, a 3-phase campaign. The orbital phase hands Ahsoka independent command of a naval squadron. She's maybe 8 months into her combat career, still 14. She makes an aggressive call that results in the destruction of most of her ships and nearly costs the entire operation. Not because she's incompetent, she's gifted and courageous. Because no institution with a functioning chain of command gives naval authority to a child. But here's where the prosecution pauses. Because the ground phase of Ryloth complicates things, and intellectual honesty is what separates this from a rant. Mace Windu, leading the 91st Reconnaissance Corps' Lightning Squadron alongside Commander Pons, advances on the capital city of Lesu. When clone casualties mount and the assault stalls, Windu doesn't retreat to a command post. He advances alone, draws enemy fire onto himself to create openings for his men, dismantles AAT tanks with the Force and his bare hands. When the Separatists use captive Twi'lek civilians as living shields around anti-aircraft installations, Windu refuses to bomb them despite the tactical cost. He calls his clones by name, mourns them when they fall. Plo Koon does the same. These moments are real. Individual Jedi cared deeply about the men they commanded. And that makes the institutional failure worse, not better, because it proves they knew the clones were people. The system still treated them as materiel. Exhibit B, filed on day 1 and never withdrawn, the Republic's use of a slave army. Human beings genetically engineered from birth, with no legal personhood, no political representation, no right to refuse orders, and no post-war plan for their existence. Year 2 opens with the moral ledger buckling. Around month 13, bounty hunter Cad Bane is captured after stealing a Jedi holocron containing the identities of Force-sensitive children. Anakin Skywalker and Mace Windu jointly use the Force to extract the children's location from his mind. Bane writhes and screams as 2 Jedi simultaneously invade his consciousness. Windu physically crushes Bane's chestplate and breathing apparatus, a technique functionally identical to the choking the Order would later condemn in Anakin. Exhibit C, coercive interrogation constituting torture under the Convention Against Torture, which admits no exceptions for efficacy, urgency, or the rank of the interrogators. That the intelligence was actionable doesn't exonerate. It establishes precedent. And Anakin learns the lesson beautifully. Throughout the series, he employs force chokes on prisoners with increasing casualness, each instance a rehearsal for the man he's becoming. The Council either can't see this pattern or chooses not to. Month 14 brings the second Battle of Geonosis, 4 episodes, full-scale planetary invasion. Padawans Barriss Offee and Ahsoka Tano, children, crawl through catacombs infested with Geonosian warriors to destroy a weapons factory from the inside. They nearly die in the collapse. Hold that name, Barriss Offee. What the war plants in her here will bloom into something the Council never expects. Month 16, the Zillo Beast. Exhibit D, the Republic deploys an electroproton bomb during the Battle of Malastare, a weapon of mass destruction, generating an electromagnetic pulse that disables every droid and every piece of technology in the blast radius, tearing open a sinkhole that awakens the last surviving Zillo Beast, sentient, the last of its kind. Palpatine orders it transported to Coruscant for weapons research, specifically its lightsaber-resistant scales. When it breaks free, he orders it killed with poison gas. Exhibit E, the deliberate killing of a sentient being, the last of its species, for military exploitation. No Jedi protests, not one. Somewhere in this same stretch, the timeline asks Obi-Wan Kenobi to become something the Jedi Code insists he cannot be. Duchess Satine Kryze, pacifist ruler of Mandalore. Obi-Wan had protected her during a year-long mission a decade before the war. They fell in love. In Voyage of Temptation, Obi-Wan admits, with a vulnerability that cracks the composure of the most disciplined Jedi in the Order, that he would have left the Jedi if she'd asked. Satine's reply, "I would have, but you never asked me to ask." That line doesn't need a score. Their entire love story, from reunion to her murder at Maul's hands, happens within 3 years alongside everything else Obi-Wan is doing. Frontline general, council member, mentor to Anakin, man in love with someone the code forbids. The war gives him no room for what he feels. The timeline will demand he watch it die. Month 18. The Separatists assault Camino itself, the cloning facilities, the strategic heart of the entire war effort. ARC Troopers, Season 3, Episode 2. Aqua droids breach the facility. Fighting spills into the corridors and training halls where clones are born, raised, and shipped to die. And 99 picks up a weapon. Not because anyone ordered him to, because his brothers needed ammunition, and he could carry it. He runs supplies through active fire, back and forth, back and forth. A man who can barely walk, sprinting through blaster fire, because he finally got to be what he'd always been, a soldier. He's killed running another load. Fives and Echo, the last of Domino Squad, the rookies 99 held together back when they were cadets who couldn't pass a drill, kneel beside his body. One of them says he was the best soldier in the Grand Army. He's right. And the war doesn't slow down, not for a second. The next campaign is already queued. 99 dies, and the timeline swallows him, because 1,095 days don't have room for grief. Month 19. The Citadel. And this one is almost funny, except it isn't. To rescue Jedi Master Even Peel from a Separatist prison designed specifically to hold Force users, Anakin's team freezes themselves in carbonite to evade lifeform scanners. The rescue party includes Ahsoka, who disobeys a direct order to stay behind and smuggles herself into the mission. She's maybe 15 by now, a child, sneaking into a maximum security prison break because she's learned, correctly, that the chain of command will put her in combat anyway, so she might as well choose which combat she walks into. But here's the detail that matters for later. The Republic officer they rescue alongside Peel is Captain Wilhuff Tarkin. Tarkin and Anakin bond during the escape. They share a worldview, that the Jedi are too restrained, too beholden to their code, too soft for the realities of war. Anakin agrees with him. This is the future Grand Moff, the man who will build the Death Star. And the Jedi Order's chosen general is nodding along with his philosophy while clone troopers die covering their escape. File that under things the Council should have noticed and didn't. Months 22 through 23. Zygeria. And the prosecution almost can't believe this one actually happened. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Rex go undercover to infiltrate a Zygerian slave empire that has captured the entire population of the Togruta colony on Kuros. To maintain their cover, Anakin poses as a slaver. Obi-Wan is enslaved in the mines of Kadavo. Rex, a clone trooper, a man who is, by any honest legal definition, already a slave, is forced into a labor camp alongside the people he's trying to rescue. The cruelty of that particular assignment apparently occurs to no one on the Jedi Council. Rex, who has no legal personhood, no political rights, and no choice in whether he fights this war, is sent undercover into a slave operation. The mission succeeds. Nobody on the council flags the irony. Or maybe they do, and the minutes of that meeting just didn't survive the archive purge. Month 24. Umbara. Season 4, Episodes 7 through 10. The prosecution's star exhibit. General Pong Krell assumes command of the 501st in Anakin's absence, and what follows is 4 episodes of escalating atrocity. Krell orders clone troopers into suicidal frontal assaults against fortified positions, refuses available tactical alternatives, deliberately wastes lives through impossible orders designed to inflict maximum casualties on his own men. Then the worst of it. Krell manipulates 2 Republic clone companies into firing on each other. Clones killing clones. Brothers murdering brothers because a Jedi general told them the enemy was wearing stolen armor. By the time Rex and Fives uncover the deception and confront Krell, the body count is catastrophic. Krell reveals he's been deliberately sabotaging the Republic. But here's the thing. Even if Krell hadn't been a traitor, the system that gave him unaccountable command authority over men legally required to obey would still be the system. No oversight, no chain of command checks, no mechanism for clones to report an abusive superior. Dogma, a clone who followed every order because that's what he was bred to do, is the one who finally executes Krell. And the war doesn't pause to reckon with what happened. Next campaign, next deployment. Always. Exhibit F lands around month 30, and it comes courtesy of the Jedi Council eating one of its own. The Jedi Temple bombing. Someone plants explosives at a hangar in the temple itself, killing clone troopers and Jedi workers. Ahsoka Tano, the child soldier they deployed at 14, the Padawan who survived Christophsis and Teth and Geonosis and Ryloth and Umbara, who bled for the Order across 2.5 years of unbroken war, becomes the prime suspect. The Council doesn't protect her. They don't investigate with the rigor her service earned. They expel her from the Jedi Order and hand her to a Republic military tribunal that could sentence her to death. Tarkin prosecutes. The future architect of the Death Star, the man Anakin bonded with at the Citadel, is prosecuting a teenager the Jedi threw away. Anakin discovers the actual bomber, Barriss Offee, the same Padawan who crawled through Geonosian catacombs at 15, the same child soldier who watched her friends die in a factory collapse. Barriss didn't snap despite the war. She snapped because of it. And her confession, delivered in open court, is the most damning thing anyone says in 7 seasons of this show. She calls the Jedi an order of hypocrisy and corruption. She says the dark side has consumed the Republic, and the Jedi aren't the ones fighting it. They're the ones feeding it. She says the war has made them into the very evil they once swore to destroy. It's the prosecution's closing argument, delivered by a broken teenager in chains. And the Jedi Council's response is to offer Ahsoka reinstatement, framing her wrongful expulsion as her great trial, as though nearly executing a teenager for a crime she didn't commit was spiritual curriculum. Ahsoka walks away. 16, maybe 17. She turns her back on the only family she's ever known, because the family turned its back first. Exhibit F. The wrongful prosecution and expulsion of a child soldier by the institution that deployed her, with zero accountability for the council members who voted to abandon her. And the war has maybe 6 months left. Now 5s. Around month 33, Clone Trooper Tup, a member of the 501st, suffers a catastrophic malfunction during the Battle of Ringo Vinda. Mid-combat, he turns and murders Jedi General Tippler with a single blaster bolt. No warning, just the words, "Good soldiers follow orders," and a dead Jedi on the ground. Something in Tup's brain triggered prematurely. Something implanted at the embryonic stage on Kamino. Something none of the clones know they're carrying. 5s, the last surviving member of Domino Squad, the rookie who survived Rishi, who fought beside 99 on Kamino, who watched Rex defy Krell on Umbara, refuses to let it go. He gets Tup transferred to Kamino. He discovers the inhibitor chip, a biochip implanted in every clone trooper, officially described as aggression dampening, actually designed to compel absolute obedience to a single command. Order 66. Kill the Jedi. 5s extracts his own chip, tries to warn the Jedi, tries to warn Rex, gets an audience with Chancellor Palpatine, who designed the chips, and whatever happens in that room, 5s comes out raving, drugged, framed as unstable. He's cornered by Clone Commander Fox in a warehouse on Coruscant. He's trying to explain, begging Rex to listen. Fox shoots him. The one clone who found the kill switch dies on a warehouse floor, and the Jedi investigation into the chips is quietly buried by the Kaminoans with Palpatine's blessing. Jedi Master Shaak Ti, who oversaw Kamino and witnessed most of the investigation, accepts the cover story. The Council accepts it. Everyone accepts it, because the alternative, that every clone in the Grand Army is carrying a biological weapon aimed at the Jedi, would mean the war, the Army, and the Republic itself are a trap. Unthinkable. Exhibit G. The institutional failure to investigate credible evidence of a conspiracy to exterminate the Jedi Order, resulting directly in the success of that conspiracy. 5s died maybe 3 months before Order 66. 3 months. The truth existed, documented, recoverable, ignored. After Ahsoka leaves the Order, she disappears into Coruscant's lower levels and falls in with the Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa, two working-class women scraping by in the underworld beneath the Senate district. They don't care about the Jedi. They care about rent. And they have a very specific reason to resent the Order. During a Jedi pursuit years earlier, a speeder crash killed their parents, and the Jedi on scene, rather than offering help or accountability, told the orphaned girls that the Force would be with them, then left. That's it. The Force will be with you. Go bury your parents. The Martez sisters aren't political. They're not making an argument about institutional failure. They're just two people the Jedi hurt and forgot, and their existence proves that the Council's damage extends far beyond the battlefield, into the civilian population they swore to protect. Now do the character math. Stack it all. Ahsoka Tano goes from a 14-year-old who'd never seen combat to a seasoned commander who holds her own against Darth Maul during the Siege of Mandalore in 36 months. Anakin descends from troubled Jedi Knight to Sith Lord. Rex evolves from by-the-book soldier to an independent thinker willing to defy direct orders. Ventress transforms from Sith assassin to bounty hunter to Night Sister. Maul returns from apparent death, recovers, takes over Death Watch, murders Duchess Satine in front of Obi-Wan, and seizes Mandalore. All of it in 1,095 days. Battles are abstract. A 14-year-old becoming a war-hardened veteran who walks away from the only life she's known, then comes back to fight one last time in under 3 years? That makes the compression hit on a human level. The final days are the cruelest proof the prosecution has. The Siege of Mandalore, Season 7. Ahsoka returns from exile to lead clone troopers of the 332nd Company, their helmets painted with her facial markings because she earned that loyalty from men who don't give it cheaply. Rex is beside her. They take Mandalore. They capture Maul. And in the same hours, Anakin Skywalker kneels before Palpatine on Coruscant and becomes Darth Vader. The 501st marches on the Jedi Temple. Across the galaxy, clone troopers receive a 14-word transmission. Execute Order 66. Rex's chip activates. He turns his weapon on Ahsoka. The woman he served beside for 3 years, the commander whose face is painted on his men's helmets, is now his target. She manages to remove his chip, barely, frantically, while their cruiser plummets toward a moon's surface, and the two of them fake their deaths and vanish. On Utapau, Obi-Wan's own 212th fires on him. On Kashyyyk, Yoda watches his clone escort reach for their weapons. On Felucia, Aayla Secura is shot in the back by the 327th Star Corps. Everywhere at once, the Jedi die. Not in battle, in betrayal. By the men they led, who had no choice in pulling the trigger. Fives knew. He died 3 months before it happened, and nobody listened. Pull the camera back, way back. The Clone Wars lasted exactly 3 years because that's how long Palpatine needed them to last. He orchestrated both sides, Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, Darth Sidious commanding the Separatists through Count Dooku. The inhibitor chips were implanted from the embryonic stage. Order 66 was always the endpoint. The war was designed to last precisely long enough to exhaust the Jedi, scatter them across every front, compromise their principles beyond recovery, and position every clone trooper within firing range of a general who trusted him. The Jedi Council's incompetence didn't just fail to shorten the war, it ensured the war lasted exactly as long as the Sith required. Every bad decision, generalship over special operations, child soldiers on the front lines, torture dressed up as interrogation, a slave army accepted without question, a whistleblower's death swept under the rug. All of it fed the machine. Barriss Offee told them, in open court, and they still didn't listen. 3 years was too short for the Clone Wars. It was exactly long enough for the Sith. And somewhere in those 1,095 days, a clone with a bad leg and a good heart died carrying ammunition to his brothers, and the war didn't even slow down long enough for anyone to notice. Subscribe if you want more like this.